welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of One Man's Opinion. Today I will be reviewing the new musical, The Butcher Boy, presented off-Broadway at Irish Repertory Theatre at 132 West 22nd Street in New York. Based on a novel by Patrick McCabe, it is adapted by Asher Muldoon, who wrote the book, music, and lyrics, and is directed by Ciaran O'Reilly. Set in Clones, Ireland in the 1960s, The Butcher Boy is a psychological thriller that starts out as an oddly dark comedy. It opens with our principal character, Francie Brady, played by Nicholas Barash, sitting on the floor in what appears to be a mental hospital. His first line is the quote at the top of this episode. The musical then jumps back that 20, 30, or 40 years to when Francie is 13 and enjoying his childhood with his best friend Joe Purcell, played by Christian Strange. His mother, Ma, played by Andrea Lynn Green, is suffering from some mental problems, and his father, Da, played by Scott Stangland, is an abusive alcoholic. When his mother attempts suicide and he and his family are mocked by Mrs. Nugent, played by Michelle Ragusa, Francie has a psychotic break and begins to see talking pigs represented by 4 actors wearing pig masks. What follows the rest of the musical is Francie narrating his slow mental disintegration and becoming more aggressive towards people he views as his enemies. Whether it's schizophrenia or some other sort of mental illness, it isn't exactly stated. Francie is at one point taken into a mental hospital where he is treated with electroconvulsive therapy in an electrifying sequence that opens Act 2. I'm sure people with in-depth knowledge and education on such issues could nitpick the medical aspects of The Butcher Boy. I personally found it richly disturbing, but at the same time, very captivating and entertaining. The beginning of the musical plays more toward an absurdist black comedy. Muldoon slowly deconstructs the story from being a fun, if slightly disturbing, tale into a truly dark and horrific narrative. Charlie Corcoran's scenic design plays into the absurdist set of the show with a giant television that takes up the upstage wall. It flashes various images that kind of represents the psyche and the mental state of Francie in a moment. During the intermission, there's actually a Twilight Zone episode that plays, which is hysterical in its own right. The stage representation of the fantasy that exists in Francie's head is really well done. The TV in particular. I think the effort to decorate the stage with onomatopoeia represented in a comic book fashion doesn't exactly work. Francie is a big comic book fan, and if you want to, you could describe this story as an origin story for a supervillain. But I don't know, it's an allegory or analogy that just doesn't feel fulfilling in what I think the creatives of the show were aiming for. It feels just a slight reach. But the TV thing is brilliant. I think that's really funny and clever at times. The format of the story works, and the direction by O'Reilly and the performance by Barash in particular create a certain empathy for Francie. We see his slow descent into madness, but with the abuses coming from his surroundings, we want to forgive him, at least to a certain point, until we can only hope that the rest of the characters come out of the show alive. Barash's ability to keep the audience in his hands as long as he does is a testament to his skills as an actor. He keeps Francie sympathetic as long as he can through his narrative. It does make him an unreliable narrator, but also allows a certain degree of compassion for a rather unforgiving character. The rest of the cast is solid. Carrie Conte is delightful as Mary, a girl he meets when he runs away to Dublin. She also plays 2 other women named Mary. She has a tender charm to all 3 that plays to her strengths as an actor. Christian Strange, Stangland, and Lynn Green are all great as well. The problems with The Butcher Boy rest mostly in Muldoon's score. Most of the music is good, but the vocal arrangements rest in odd key signatures at times that make it difficult for some of the cast members to maintain their harmonies. This happens particularly with the Pig Quartet. There are several times throughout the show where the music modulates up high enough that the ladies in particular have trouble sustaining their notes to keep the chords cohesive in the music. At least that was the case in the night that I was in attendance. It could be argued that it is intended to sound chaotic, but when the tone of the voices don't complement the discordant chords, it becomes problematic. There were also a few other instances where cast members, maybe they were just not feeling well, because some of the other cast members seemed to be having some vocal issues as well. The Butcher Boy is not a show for everyone. It's an intense drama and at times deeply disturbing. It takes the risk of humanizing a character that in our own real life, if we came across them in person or on the news, we would be grateful if a person like Francie stayed in hospital or in prison the rest of his life. People will either really enjoy it or find it so disturbing that they would rather wish that they had just missed it. Ultimately, you know yourself well enough as to whether or not this kind of show will be your cup of tea. I can only say that I personally enjoyed it, but I totally understand that there are going to be some people who don't. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing The Butcher Boy, I'll leave a link in the description. If you'd like to support my channel, like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be Iverson Playhouse's production of Ring of Fire. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.